Last year at the Giro d'Italia, we had a really good battle with Ryder Hesjedal, but he wasn't trading attacks with his chief competitor. There were guys up the road, and he was isolated, and he had to do a big turn. He used Pete Stetina and then Christian Vande Velde and spent a bunch of time on the front by himself, and he held it together. But today, this was hand on hand. I mean, these guys were basically just duking it out, slugging it out, and everybody else was just collateral damage around them trying to pick up their scraps along the way. Yeah, well, Horner he's very pragmatic about this stuff. You know, he said that he didn't lose any sleep when he was 3 seconds down in the general classification. He wasn't going to lose any sleep last night.
Now he's got him.
When he was 3 seconds up in the general classification. Accelerations on these steep climbs hurt you, but you get that gap, which you need because you don't want a guy lined up on your wheel. So Astana using their men from the early break very wisely to hold things together to keep the pace up, and then as soon as full song is cracked, Vincenzo goes on the attack, but Horner marks him easily right now. Nibali took many punches at him on the climb, opened up the gap on several occasions, but Horner kept calm, he kept poised, he kept bringing him back, and he finally cracked Nibali, and now he's opening up this lead. You know, this is the final acceleration from Chris. And all of a sudden, Nibali finally cracks after attacking Chris probably half a dozen times. He could not respond any longer. I actually thought it a couple of times that Horner might have been in a little bit of trouble. I saw him drop his head a couple of times, and he just didn't look quite as fresh. He wasn't closing down those gaps quite as quickly as we've seen in the other mountain days. And then we saw him at the finish. Man, did he look exhausted. So, yeah, of course you're going to be exhausted. You're going to leave everything on the road for the final summit finish. But it was not really a done deal until very late in the race when it looked like Nibali finally was done. Well. Very interesting to see as they want to make sure that Chavez has perfect positioning going into the climb. And remember, if you got teammates that are still in the group, it doesn't do them any good to sit in 20 or 30 riders behind you and get dropped. They may as well use their energy to keep their team leader right up there at the front. Very tricky here. These are some really nervous moments, but nobody challenging the front of the peloton for Orica Green Edge. Why? Because they're going about 48 miles an hour by the looks of this pace. 5K to go in the race. They're absolutely drilling it on the run-in. Talk about the big hitters. Look at those four. You wouldn't have necessarily included Chavez in that list before the race started, but now you have to put him in that group of big hitters.
No Chris Froome, no Fabio Aru, at least at the front.
It looks like Aru trying to make his way up in the blue. Here comes Micah as well in the yellow for Tinkoff. Now, it looks like Quintana, the first real acceleration. This right now, to me, is a little bit of panic that he shouldn't be showing. He is starting to show his hand a little bit in chasing down Dumoulin. I think he could have bluffed a little and let some of the other teams chase. That breakaway group was actually just starting to disintegrate moments ago as a bunch of guys had come off the back. Sangezo Jim was dropped, Chalingi was dropped, Fraile, the mountains leader, was dropped. 21% now. And look at the leg speed he's got. He's really on top of the gear. He looks very good to me, actually. Who would have thought Tom Dumoulin was going to win the stage today?
Right.
I mean, really, people?
And the way it happened, too.
It's insane. He attacked not once, but a couple of times, made Chavez bring him back. Chavez eventually blew up, and then Dumoulin looked like he blew up, and then he still won the stage over a surging Chris Froome. Who could have ever imagined that would have happened today?
How much can you explain away by the variances in form guys have?
A lot. And look at second and third in the Tour de France. Quintana and Valverde, where were they today? They were suffering. So there's no doubt that if Froome, Valverde, Quintana were all focused on the Tour, that was their big goal. It is hard to bounce back for the Vuelta and be at your best.